Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you, Paul. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm glad you all were able to join us today. I did want to, obviously, because of the issues we're having with recording, I wanted to make certain everyone is aware that this session is going to be recorded. We're doing that so that those who are not able to participate in the session can hear it later on when they are subsequently available. So with that, I am the Director of Academic Programs at the South Carolina Research Authority. I also have Paul Dudley on the line. Paul, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Good morning, everybody. It's Paul Dudley, and I'm supporting Christine on all of the efforts associated with this RFA. Look forward to working with all of you.
And originally, we were going to have quite a few participants signed up, but it looks like we only have about 10 people on the line, so we do have enough time to go through and provide a very brief introduction. If you could please give your name and your institutional affiliation, please, one at a time. I will call out the attendees. So Dan Henn.
Hi, this is Dan Hinn. I'm with Purologics LLC.
Thank you. And Joe James.
Hi, Joe James, Agritech.
Thank you. Oliver.
Oliver Myers, Clemson University, Mechanical Engineering Department.
Thank you. Marty Ryan.
Good morning. This is Marty Ryan from ATI.
Good morning, all. Carol Brown.
Good morning. I'm from MUSC Investigational Drug Services Pharmacy.
Good morning, Carol. And Blaine Childress.
I'm Blaine Childress with SCRA's Industry Program.
Anna Forsythe.
Hi there. Good morning. I'm with Purologics LLC as well.
Thank you. And then I have someone by the last name of Clayton, but I don't see their full name.
Yes, this is Alan Clayton. I'm the Department Chair of Industrial Technologies at Midlands Technical College.
Excellent. Good to have you here today. And then I have a few callers that I don't have their names identified. So if I did not name you, would you please go ahead and announce yourself?
This is Doug Hurt from Clemson University.
Good morning, Doug. And then I think we may have one other on the line. All right. So they can feel free to introduce themselves later on if they would like. I do want to ask, since we have a larger group today, if you could please kindly hold your questions. We're going to have a question and answer session at the end of this. You may record your questions in the chat box if you're comfortable doing that, and Paul will log those and make certain that we address the questions during the Q&A session. And with that, I do also ask if you're traveling or might have some noise on your end, if you could please kindly mute your line. So today we're going to provide a background on SCRA, as I know several people on the line are familiar with us, but several are not. And then also an introduction to the SCRA Academic Programs Group, because those are key pieces of information with regards to the perspective of the reviews that will be conducted under this RFA. And then we'll shift gears into the RFA itself and talking about the review criteria, the process, and how to submit ultimately. And once we move into the Q&A session, I would like to earmark some time at the end of the session as well to make certain that those who are looking for collaborators have an opportunity to talk about their project briefly and see if there are connections that we can make on that front. So first, I'd like to start off with a brief background of SCRA. SCRA is a quasi-state entity that was formed by an act of the South Carolina legislature in 1983. It was formed for the mission of developing the technology economy in South Carolina. So at the time, the state was losing a lot of the milling jobs, and the legislature recognized that there was a need to address this and backfill that with higher wage technology-based jobs. With that, SCRA received $500,000 and 1,400 acres in land from the state in 1983. Those were the only direct funds that SCRA has received. As SCRA matured and worked towards delivering on its mission with regards to the technology economy in South Carolina, it was also looking for opportunities to keep the operations self-sustaining. And with that, they formed a group called ATI, Advanced Technologies International. We have Marty here on the line from ATI. And ATI is a DoD consolidator, if you will. They work to build consortium amongst academia and industry to deliver on specific needs under government contracts. With that operation became quite successful and grew. There's over 165 employees in Somerville today associated with ATI. Then in 2005-2006, with 2 additional pieces of legislation, SCRA established the innovation centers. And with that, there are 3 innovation centers. Each are legislatively mandated to be tied to the research universities across the state. So I'm sitting in the innovation center in Charleston on Meeting Street. And then there is also a facility in Columbia on Assembly Street associated with USC, and another up in Anderson, South Carolina, associated with Clemson University. These innovation centers provide wet lab space, and not just for startups, but also for academic research. So for example, the McNair Center in the USC Innovation Center has a significant footprint in that facility. The sister piece of legislation then also formed a group called SC Launch. And SC Launch is there to support entrepreneurs in South Carolina. I will discuss a little bit later on more about SC Launch, but with that, it's important to note that that group is one of 4 operating divisions within SCRA today. Then later, move forward in the timeline to 2016 and looking at SCRA and how it was developing, it became clear that ATI was a resounding success. But it was working across the nation in building out these consortia. And with that, SCRA's focus is really on the state. And so ultimately they decided to sell ATI. It was sold just a little bit over a year ago to Answer, a Virginia-based not-for-profit. And those organizations did agree as a condition of the sale that the employees would stay in South Carolina. The sale of ATI does indeed help support the operations of SCRA going forward. And so with that, I'd like to refocus back on our mission and what we are here to do. As we work to support the innovation economy in South Carolina, we do that through 4 different operating divisions. So the Academic Programs Group, which I am the head of, is certainly there to assist with the translation of research that's going on in the academic institutions, and also building bridges between academia and industry, including entrepreneurial endeavors. And then we also have a group called Industry Programs that really works on the other side of the equation. We work very closely together. They are out there speaking with industry within the state to see what their needs are and making connections within academia and entrepreneurial startups as well. They're also looking to attract R&D efforts into the state. And then the 3rd operating division is entrepreneurs. That's the SC Launch group. And SC Launch provides a in-depth resource partner network that has capabilities for entrepreneurs from legal to accounting, HR, all the auxiliary functions that a startup enterprise does not typically have on staff, to make connections for them within the community and build out the support that they need. In addition to that, there's also in-depth mentoring from the regional managers that work with SC Launch. These are seasoned business professionals that can advise companies as they experience challenges. And then the 3rd component of SC Launch and how they engage with entrepreneurs is in funding. There's a spectrum of funding available across SCRA, but between the 3 different divisions that manage that funding, any one company can receive up to $750,000 in funding from SCRA. The bulk of that is through SC Launch in their investments, where they can make up to $200,000 investments in a company. And with that, as you look at all 4 of these operating divisions across SCRA, of course, then the facilities being the 4th, please do note that we are focused on 3 different industry verticals. The first being life sciences, not in order of priority, mind you, life sciences, advanced materials and manufacturing, and information technology. So in looking at academic programs within SCRA and how we're executing on our mission, SCRA gathered information from the academic partners in the state. And to be clear, the academic partners, when I refer to that, they are the public institutions of higher education within the state. So we are, as a state entity, there to support the public institutions. And in working with them about 18 months ago, the group redefined how they would like SCRA to engage and the services they would like SCRA to provide. With that, one of the three key areas was in enhancing support for academic startups. And a lot of those initiatives are being supported through SC Launch and their entrepreneurship programs. But we also have moved some of the funding into academic programs. So the SBIR and STTR matching grants fall under academic programs, as does the Academic Startup Assistance Program grants. So the Academic Startup Assistance Program grants are $25,000 grants for the advancement of intellectual property that's coming out of the universities. Then the second component that they requested, that the academic institutions requested, is support of research infrastructure and supporting collaborative research across the academic institutions. And so we have undertaken efforts. We funded several pilot projects last year in that space with acquisitions of equipment that can be used on a statewide basis in these three different research areas that I'll speak to in a moment. The final piece, and this is really the driver for the conversation we're having today and the RFA, is to provide grant services to really build out collaborations across the academic institutions, as well as across academia and industry within the state. And so with that, since this is academia, they did form a committee, and I want to explain to you all really the hierarchy here of all of the different stakeholders so that you can appreciate as you're crafting your applications who will be reviewing and really their perspective that they're coming from. So at the very top is the SCRA Executive Committee, and this is the 9-member committee of the board that has voting powers. And we do have the presidents of the 3 research universities as well as the president of Francis Marion on our executive committee. And that committee then appointed delegates to a group called the SACT, which is the SCRA Academia Collaboration Team. Now, I don't want to drown you all in acronyms as we go through this, but the SACT is an important acronym, and I need to dwell on this for a moment to help you appreciate, because they are actually ultimately the decision makers with regards to this RFA. So the SACT is a 7-member committee, and there are appointees from each of the research universities, as well as an appointee from the technical college system, an appointee from the public undergraduate institutions, and one from industry. And that group is going to convene in April to make the funding decisions with regards to this RFA. I will get into the process later on as to how those decisions are going to be made. But with that, the SACT was instituted to design and implement the programs to execute on the collaboration agreement that was signed by SCRA and the academic institutions with those 3 key areas of focus under the previous slide. And so with that, the SACT is moving forward. Its primary initiative is building out collaboration centers, and I will speak to that in a moment. But with that, I want to give you a little bit of a history of how we got where we are today. The SACT gathered information from the academic institutions across the state with regards to their areas of strategic interest and research focus. And with that, then, we looked at the connectivity across institutions because we want to know that there is a critical mass of research in a particular area. And with that, we found 9 different areas across the state of research that fit within SCRA's 3 industry verticals. And those 9 areas of research were then prioritized. And with that, ultimately, the SACT decided to support initially the first 3 centers, one being in the Composites Industry Solutions Center, as well as one in medical devices and another in technology-enabled population health. And so we kicked off in October an extensive 6-month feasibility analysis. And with that, we used these feasibility assessment teams that you see lower down on the slide. The feasibility assessment teams, and we do have some of the participants in that on the phone today, those members are subject matter experts in that research field. And they have worked with SCRA since October and going forward to really determine how we can shape these collaboration centers to be meaningful as well as optimize engagement with industry. And so with that, any of you who are on the phone, I thank you for your assistance that you've provided over the past few months. We have undertaken benchmarking to look at other centers across the state, and not across the state, across the nation and what they're doing so that we can differentiate what we're doing here in South Carolina. We also did a SWOT analysis and are doing resource mapping. So looking at the physical assets we have across the state to support research in this space, as well as intellectual property and expertise. And so with that, all of the three research areas are going to be moving forward potentially as a collaboration center. And this is the primary focus right now of the SACT. And so we did define a collaboration center as an area where we do, as a state, have more than sufficient research expertise, intellectual property, capabilities, and physical assets to support the research so that we can stand out in the national arena. And with that, there were criteria to determine what those 9 collaboration centers, in order to qualify as a collaboration center. And with that, these criteria, I'm going to mention these because it does come into play later on with regards to the RFA. This is really a bit different than a typical academic research project, because SCRA is here with an economic development mission. And so we are looking at research in areas where there's a growing industry and it's going to have a significant economic impact. We're also looking to leverage the existing capabilities and resources we have across the state. We need to ensure that there is going to be long-term funding available, because the funding within SCRA for these collaboration centers is not enough to stand up the centers. It's really there to plant the seed, to pursue follow-on funding from other resources, be that through industry or the federal government or other private foundation money. We also, as part of the evaluation process, did a SWOT analysis, as I mentioned. And with that, when we identified deficits, we wanted to be certain that we could address them financially or identify external funding to address them. And then finally, really hitting on the economic development piece. We're here to create jobs and companies, as well as help with workforce development. So moving on now to focus on your area of interest. It's this Composites Industrial Solutions Center. So when we met with the feasibility assessment team, it became very clear as we were doing our resource mapping that there is a diversity of research capabilities across the state within academia. Likewise, on the industry side, we have more than 100 companies within South Carolina operating in composites. The academic expertise and the industry interest spans across a multitude of industries, a multitude of materials, and so we were left with the question of how to maximize engagement and take advantage of what we have across the state when there is such diversity of capabilities. And so with that, we are proposing to move forward with building out, and when I say building out, I should be clear, it's not necessarily going to be a physical bricks and mortar presence, but in establishing a Composites Industrial Solutions Center. This would be a one-stop shop where industry can come to the center, say they have a problem and they need a solution, and the center will build out a team of researchers across academic institutions to provide solutions. This is an effort to overcome some of the challenges in engaging with academia that we've heard from industry. In particular, if they want to build a team across multiple academic institutions, we want to make it simple for industry and only have one point of contact that they need to engage with to get a contract in place for the work. And so with that, the center is not focused on a particular material or a particular industry, but they do want this to be applied research. So they're looking at things that are TRL 3 and above. And as I mentioned, this is not necessarily going to be a bricks and mortar facility. As we move forward with our feasibility assessment, we're going to be determining what funding is available. If we are able to identify some of those foundational grants that are necessary to build out institutes, we will certainly pursue that. But right now, we have more than adequate research infrastructure across multiple academic institutions to support this. And so it will initially be a virtual center and drawing on the resources that we have across the state. And so with that, the scope of the RFA, as was defined by the feasibility assessment team and later adjusted by the SACT, was to identify industry needs and develop solutions to them. This is really an effort to test out the system that we're looking to build. There are a lot of contractual issues that the center will have to address in engaging with multiple academic institutions. But we need a few opportunities to run through the works, if you will, to test out where the challenges are and address them in a seamless fashion. We're also interested in supporting any proposals for equipment that's necessary and does not exist here within the state. That is another of the reasons why we did an asset map associated with the research infrastructure, because we want to be certain that funds are deployed in a strategic way and we're not duplicating equipment that already exists elsewhere within the state. So with that, I'd like to move on to the eligibility criteria, because I know we have a lot of people on the phone that are also from industry. And so I want to make it clear that the applications do have to come from an academic institution. And I do have this definition here at the bottom of the slide as to who the constituent institutions are. But just to be clear, as I mentioned before, my stakeholders are the public institutions of higher learning within the state. This spans across the research universities, the tech system, and the primarily undergraduate institutions. Nonetheless, engagement with industry is the core of everything we're trying to do here at academic programs. And so with that, we are requiring that there either be collaboration between one or more of the constituent institutions, or collaboration between a constituent institution and industry. So there certainly is an opportunity to engage here with industry, and that's why later on in the conversation I'm going to open the floor to people speaking about industry needs they may potentially have, so that we can make connections between academia and industry for potential proposals as well. Moving on to the review criteria, I will on the next slide speak with regards to the actual review process, but I do want to make you aware that there are two different sets of criteria by which this RFA is being judged. So the technical criteria, and this is all outlined quite explicitly in the RFA, but I did want to just hit on the high points here. For the technical review, we are going to be hiring external technical reviewers, experts in the field that can look at the technologies and proposals and determine their merits pursuant to the typical NSF review criteria. So I'm assuming that most of you are quite familiar with the NSF review criteria, but nonetheless, anyone who submits an application that then goes out for external review will receive a summary statement, much like they would from an NSF proposal review. There is one additional component, though, that we tacked on to the technical reviews that actually also is going to show up on the strategic side, and that is the question of follow-on funding. We just want to be certain that there is a trajectory for these projects and that there is going to be a pathway for them to continue to advance and ultimately have a commercial impact. Then with regards to the strategic criteria, this is going to be reviewed by the SACT, that committee I mentioned at the very beginning of the presentation. And so the SACT is going to take the information from the technical reviews and then look at the strategic criteria that have been built out as well. And these criteria are quite tightly aligned with the criteria for qualifying as a collaboration center on that slide I walked through earlier in the presentation. But with this, since we are looking to build collaboration across academic institutions, there will be a benefit for proposals that involve a primarily undergraduate institution or a technical college. So there's a preference for that. It is not mandatory, but it will weigh in your favor if your proposal does involve one of those types of institutions. And SCRA is here to help make connections with those institutions as well. So if you need assistance, if you're with industry, you have a problem that needs a solution, please let me know, and we will try to make connections for you with academic institutions. And likewise, then, we're looking to establish new connections with industry between academia, recognizing that this is our first foray and really a feasibility grant to test out the system that we're looking to build out. We will certainly welcome applications from existing academia industry collaborations. There just is a preference if we're able to forge new relationships along the way. We're also looking for projects that are going to address a market need, and they need to have a pathway to market. TRL1 is probably going to be a little too early for us. We're looking for something a little further along that would be of more interest to engaging industry. And then also looking, of course, back to the economic development piece, looking at the impact on the state's innovation economy. This ties also to the bullet a little further down about significant financial and institutional impact. With that, we're looking at the market potential, if this could potentially be manufactured within South Carolina, which would then create even more jobs. looking for opportunities for workforce development, since that is so crucial to the technical college system here in South Carolina. So really how all of those different traditional economic development pieces will come into bear on the strategic criteria as well. And then we're also looking to make certain that this is meeting an industry need. And then moving on down to the final bullet, we want to be certain that there are clear-cut milestones, the development timeline is not protracted, and that we know when there is a successful outcome. So moving on to the timeline and the review process, I did mention some of this briefly, but we are going to be conducting a compliance pre-review. So that's really just me and Paul, making certain that the applications that we receive are indeed compliant with the solicitation. So please be certain that if there's a document that's requested, be certain to upload it. If it's not applicable to you, you can even submit a form that says not applicable and upload that as well. But we need to be certain that everything is compliant with the terms of the solicitation, because that was carefully reviewed by the SACT, and we want to make certain there's conformance there. And then for all applications that are compliant, we will be then kicking them to the SACT to conduct a pre-review with regards to the strategic criteria. Now, this pre-review is obviously going to be preliminary. They just want to be certain that an application is aligned in general with the strategy of the Collaboration Center and what we're looking to accomplish. And so with that, any applications that pass the pre-review will go out for external technical review. And so we are going to be using a third party to manage the external review for us to make certain that it's unbiased and that we do get subject matter experts in the field. And so with that, the technical reviews will be going out the week of March 22nd. And then the technical reviews will be coming back to us a few weeks later, which we will then feed back to the SACT. And the SACT then will convene on April 26th and take into consideration the outcomes from the technical review together with the strategic criteria to determine which projects will get funded. And then with that, we do have a deadline to get the contracts in place for the funding by the end of this fiscal year, which is June 30. And with that, I do want to highlight, I did skip over the application due date. Let's not skip over that. Let's just pause for a moment. I want to make everyone aware of that March 15th date. It's 5 o'clock that day is the cutoff. You will not be able to submit after that point. So please be certain to get your applications in. You may want to get into the system a little early to test it out. It's fairly straightforward how to operate the submission system, but I don't want anyone getting stuck at 4:55, not able to get their application in. And then with regards to the submission process, some of you may be familiar with EPSCoR IDEA. That is an NSF-funded and NIH-funded initiative to enhance the research funding that comes into South Carolina. There's, I think, 28 different NSF states across the country. There's a real disparity in how federal research funding is distributed across the country, and EPSCoR and IDEA are an effort to overcome that and ensure that states that receive less funding are better positioned and enabled to attract more grant funding into the state. And so with that, we were working with South Carolina's EPSCoR IDEA group. They kindly allowed us to use their submission portal. So when you go to the Submit Your Proposal link, it's going to take you to an EPSCoR IDEA website. There you're going to need to register, and you need to select the offer of the Composites, the SACT Composites Center solicitation. And that will then send you a registration email. I promise you that that email is going to end up in your junk or spam folder, because everyone I've spoken to so far, it has gone there. And so with that, please be certain after you register, if you do not get an email in your inbox, to immediately check your junk and spam folder, because it's sitting there with your temporary password. And then looking at the RFA, I hope most of you have had access to it and read through it, but there is a link in there with regards to the submissions portal. I'll also pull it up on the next slide during the Q&A session. I also do want to note that one other little quirk there, some of the forms that you have to complete are fillable PDFs. The system is not able to accept fillable PDFs, so you do have to convert them to a traditional PDF, which you can do either by PDF printing the PDF or by physically printing it out and scanning it in. Again, hovering on that deadline, 5 p.m. on March 15th. Just want to make certain everyone has that on their calendar because that is a firm and hard deadline. And then I've already walked you through the SACT and the decision process that they're going to have, but we'll certainly open it up to questions in just a moment on all of those points. I'm going to leave this slide up for the remainder of the session so that those of you who want can copy this information down. All of this is also on the landing page. So this RFA landing page is first one here. If you go to the SCRA website and then go to what we do and then academic programs, with that it will take you to this page so that you can download the RFA, as well as read additional information about the program and also the user guide. So this user guide, the third bullet here, is also on that landing page as well. But with that, Paul is also listed in the RFA. His contact information is there as the program manager. So he's able to assist you as you have questions that come up with regards to submissions as well. And so with that, I would like to open it up to questions and then aim at 9:45 to open this up to a discussion about potential collaboration. So Paul, do we have any questions from the chat system?
No, not yet, Christine.
Okay, then I'll just open it up to all of the participants. Do you all have any questions?
I have a question. Hello?
Yes.
This is Rama Podila from Clemson, and so ultimately the application, does it need to be submitted by the PI or does it go through the Office of Sponsored Research?
So we are asking all of the applicants to comply with their institutional requirements. So with that, you still would certainly follow your traditional submission process for approval for an outgoing grant application. But the application itself is submitted by the PI.
Okay, and the other thing is, from what you have described and what I have seen in the solicitation, you want this center to serve the industry, and although there are more than 100 companies working on composites, they differ a lot from each other, obviously. And what I'm trying to understand is, would this center have its own team of research, or would it be more like a characterization or a facility that would provide solutions to the industry? What are you looking for in that?
It's the latter. So it would not have researchers that are dedicated and funded through the center exclusively. Instead, it would be building a network and building teams based on each of the issues that we are presented by industry. So we would build teams that are relevant for that industry as well as type of research that needs to be conducted.
Okay, so there is no, whatever we propose is basically how can we solve the challenges that are being faced by the industry in South Carolina?
Well, we're looking for a specific issue, industry validated issue. So if there is a need from industry, we would like a proposal on how to address that. And then on my end, we will use those proposals to run through the system and see how we can build out these teams and get the appropriate contracts in place. So these are really feasibility grants to test out the business models that we're looking to establish. So you do want to come with a technical problem that is an unmet need by industry.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? So with that, then, I would like to open up the floor. We do have several people who joined after we went through the introductions. So if you joined the call after we provided introductions, if you could please state your name. I'll call you all out because I believe I can see some of them that have joined along the way. But if you could please announce yourself and the affiliation you have with the company or academia, because we're going to move into a discussion of trying to do some matchmaking, because we do have some industry partners on the phone that do have issues that need solutions. And so this is an opportunity to build some of those connections. So with that, if I could please ask John Hardaway to introduce himself.
John Hardaway. I'm an attorney with the Nexus Court Law Firm. I practice patent law and I am a material science. major.
We can't quite hear you, John.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm speaking through the laptop, so that might be the problem.
Oh, I see.
I'm John Hardaway. I'm an attorney with Nexus Pruitt. I practice
All right.
And I am a material science person by education.
I am so sorry, John, but I could barely hear you. But I do know that I noted from your registration that you're with Nexus Pruitt, so a law firm. I believe you're an IP attorney. But I apologize. I could not hear you very well.
I'm sorry.
There we go. There we go. Thank you. And then Heath Milligan. Heath, if you could please introduce yourself. All right, we will move on. Kevin Weir. Now, Kevin has not joined by audio. Danielle McElwain.
Hi, I'm calling from the University of South Carolina, and I'm the pre-award director in the College of Engineering and Computing. So I was just more listening about the requirements of the RFP.
Okay, excellent. Is there anyone else who would like to announce themselves? Because there are a few participants whose names I'm not able to see through the system. So with that, I'd like to turn it. Go ahead,
okay.
Please.
I already asked a question. I'm Rama Podila from Clemson Nanomaterials Institute at Clemson. I'm an assistant professor.
Excellent. So with that,
can I introduce myself as well?
Yes, please.
Yeah, my name is Tom Gurley. I'm an independent technical consultant. My area of expertise is analytical chemistry and polymers and elastomers, and I was interested in collaborating on projects related to composites. So I was just interested in finding out. I got in a little late, so I didn't hear the introduction to your presentation.
Sure, sure. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the industry partners who are on the phone today that may have potential issues that they're looking to collaborate on. Joe, would you like to speak about your project?
Yes, thank you. This is Joe James. My company is called Agritech Producers LLC. We're based in Columbia, South Carolina. And we have actually been involved in collaborations out of state, which Christine, you're aware of. And what we'd like to do is more involved with state universities here in South Carolina. Here's what we do. We convert plant and wood material using a patented torrefaction process into various types of char, which among other things can be made into cost-competitive fillers, which make composites and plastics lighter, stronger, and heat and water resistant. We're currently operating under a cooperative research and development agreement with USDA's Western Regional Research Center. We have collaborated, and we are collaborating with the University of Akron on specific biomass material. And we have customer engagement who have a strong interest in our product. We got into this because of my concern about chronic rural poverty in places like Allendale, South Carolina. So we're positioning ourselves to actually grow and process biomass and then convert that into fillers or fillers and other products that could be very helpful to the auto industry who's trying to lightweight vehicles, the aviation industry as well, and other industry applications. For example, our lead customer makes flower pots that have disfigured when the temperatures hit 95 degrees. The University of Akron has confirmed that we can provide another 20 degrees of tolerance to that product. So we're looking to be part of a team that a university could submit, and we bring some resources to the table as we join that team.
Excellent, thank you. And I should mention, if any of you are interested and if you're not able to connect through the call, I can certainly make introductions as well if you're interested on collaborating with any of these as they come up. Heath is letting me know his mic is not working. I'm sorry to hear that. Heath, you might want to try and call in instead of using your computer audio then. With that, do we have any other companies on the line who are interested in collaborating and finding solutions to issues that they have? All right. Well, with that, then, I'm going to turn it over to the academic groups to highlight really their area of focus so that there may also be collaborations built between the academic institutions. So with that, I'm trying to do this in an orderly fashion with so many people on the phone. So I beg your pardon if I call out people who are not associated with academia. I'm just trying to read through people's names quickly here. Doug Hurt, you're with Clemson. Would you like to talk a little bit about your expertise and how you could engage?
Yeah, we have a variety of programs related to composites. It could be fiber reinforced or filler reinforced composite materials, both from the thermoset and thermoplastic areas. We have a couple other folks on the call, but he just introduced himself from the Nano Center that we have here. And Oliver Myers has experience with composites as well. I mean, if those guys want to chime in a little bit more, that'd be great.
Certainly, I'll turn it over to them.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, this is Oliver Myers. I can go ahead and chime in if you don't mind.
Yes, please.
Okay. Again, my name is Oliver Myers in the Department of Mechanical Engineering at Clemson. I have two main focuses with composite materials. The first is using carbon fiber reinforced polymers and using embedded multifunctional materials, or what we call smart materials, for non-destructive evaluation to detect damage within the structures. We're looking at multiple plies, thin films, so we can see where damage occurs, whether it's at the initiation point or whether it's through the onset and propagation. The second area of research is using the residual stresses within composite materials for adaptive shape changing or morphing structures or adaptive structures for composites. So we're looking at being able to allow, say for instance, a car panel or car bodies to change shape under some type of load. And we're expanding that to see if these bistable or multi-stable composites will be able to dampen some impact, maybe even mitigate impact, and even after impact, be able to go back to their original shape and still function at a higher level of integrity versus a completely damaged or bent-in system that loses its structural integrity and aerodynamics. So I'm working right now with the Army Research Laboratory, but I would also be interested in moving into other DoD agencies as well as the automotive transportation industry.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Oliver.
So this is Rama Podila again from Clemson. We are at the Clemson Nanomaterials Institute, and our expertise is in core synthesis of nanomaterials, different types of nanomaterials, nanocarbons, semiconducting oxides, and then manufacturing, say things like carbon nanotubes in a roll-to-roll fashion, scalable manufacturing of nanomaterials. We also have a core facility for nanomaterial characterization, composite characterization, ranging from spectroscopic tools to thermal conductivity, mechanical properties, and microscopy. That's a central facility at Clemson. And we can basically help anybody who is interested in nanofillers or anything to do with nanomaterial-based composites.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And then I know we have a representative from Midlands Tech on the line. Are they still with us?
Yes, I'm still here. You know, we're primarily, I'm on in the industrial technology side, and so I think our fit, I was really here more to kind of see what it was about, but I think our fit would be probably in my machine tool technology program. We work a good bit with McNair Aerospace over at USC, and you know, we basically can fabricate and make anything out of anything is what we tell people. So we work with metals and obviously some other materials. And so Dr. Alan Greer, who is my program coordinator for that program, would be the one to really address these things much more clearly than I would. But I'm just kind of trying to see what it's all about and if we have a fit here.
Certainly.
That makes sense?
And absolutely, and that's why we're here. We're trying to build some connections also across the academic institutions. So
yeah, we basically
certainly,
put out associate degree machinist.
Okay. And so with that, I did have a question posed in the chat screen about if this is strictly a university proposal. Goodness no, we are looking for proposals from the technical college systems as well. So if there are industry partners on the phone that are interested in working with Midlands Tech and their capabilities there, also from a workforce development perspective, those types of proposals are also welcome. All right, is there anyone that I did not yield the floor to who would like to speak? All right, excellent. Well, as we move forward, if you're interested in connecting with anyone on this call, please do reach out to me and I will make those connections. Oh, I did have, yes, you may, Joe, if you would like.
Thank you. I forgot to say, yes, this is Joe James again from Agritech. I forgot to say that we are a party to a mechanical method of grinding our materials into nanoparticles. In fact, we have a sample, I'll have a sample in a week or two here in Columbia. And so we have a keen interest in participating in nanoparticle activity as well.
Excellent.
Excellent. Thank you, Joe, for weighing in with that. So from there, please do feel free to reach out to us if you have questions about the RFA. This is not like the DoD where there's a dark period leading up to the submission deadline. We certainly want to help you all craft the best application possible. So if there's anything we can do on that front or help with making collaboration connections, please do not hesitate to reach out. With that,
I'm really sorry, I joined the call a little bit late, so I did not get your name.
Oh, yes, my name is Christine Dixon-Thieving. I'm the Director of Academic Programs at SCRA. And we also have, here, if I'll go back to, no, that's all right. Paul Dudley's information, Paul is also on the line with us here today. And Paul is the Program Manager for this RFA. And so he is fielding questions pertaining to the RFA, the review process, and the submission process as well. And you should,
Christine, one more question.
Yes, please.
This is Joe James again. Is it possible that you might, you've got a deadline that's coming up real quickly, March 15th, which is, by the way, the Ides of March. That's kind of a terrifying date in history. But would it be possible for you to forward the information that I've shared with you with any of the institutions that have been on the phone, but in particular, it looks like Clemson would be a target for us because of the shortness of time and the need for these teams to sort of these leads folks to put together their teams right away. Time is of the essence, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Yes, I'm happy to send out the information that you sent to me last night, Joe, to the academic participants on the call. Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And if I'd like to open that up to anyone else, and also on the academic side, if you would like to submit information about your capabilities, we can work through how to share that in an efficient fashion with everyone. And any other industry partners as well. If you have a specific issue or proposal that you would like to work with academia on, please do email that to me. My email is christine.thiesing. So you see my name up there, christine.thiesing@scra.org. You can also probably find me through the website, but I just want to be certain you all know how to reach me. Most of you probably received an email from me announcing the RFA, so that does have, if you reply to that, it also sends it directly back to me.
Okay. I just want to say that, Joe, many thanks for pointing out your interest in nanoparticles. We will contact you, and then we can have a more detailed discussion on how we can collaborate.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you all so very much for joining us here today, and I look forward to hearing from you as we move towards the deadline.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your time today.